Hey there, everybody. Professor Hall here, and we are on to the next module. Here we're going to look at a film called Rashōmon, which is an Akira Kurosawa film. We'll be talking a lot about Akira Kurosawa as we make our way through the module. This is a Japanese film that was released in 1950. This is the genre of the film, which I'll never be able to correct properly, or I'll never be able to pronounce properly. But it literally means a period drama. So we're watching a Japanese period drama, which means it takes place much earlier than when we're actually making the film in 1950. It won the Golden Lion Award at the Venice International Film Festival, which is a pretty prestigious film festival. I believe it won the award in 1951. It's considered one of the greatest films ever made, okay? So just think about that as you watch the film. Again, it's going to be a little bit simpler than what you're used to watching now, 2025, 2026. But it is a very complex film for the time, and it was very revolutionary, and it wasn't even kind of given its proper regard until later on, all right? The film pioneered a plot device that's also now called the Rashomon effect. So it was kind of the first film to do this, and we're going to talk about that as we make our way through this module. So the original title, I think it's pronounced Rashōmon, means city walls gate, okay? So this was the name of a play or a story that was written a really long time ago, okay? The name was changed in a No play, and we'll talk about what No theater is a little later, in 1420. So this is an old word, okay? And so Rashomon was actually like the gate or the entrance to the castle is what it meant. And then the film was changed to, or the name of the story was changed to Rashomon, which means the main gate to life. Okay, that's the translation. And again, that change was made in 1420. The film is an adaptation of two short films. Okay, The film is an adaptation of two short stories that Kurosawa wrote, and he kind of combined them and made in this one kind of intertwined, very well done story, okay? So In the Grove is a 1922 short story. That's the first film, or the first short story that it's based on. And then there's another story called Rashomon, 1915. They're both written by the same gentleman, I believe. And In the Grove is the short story that kind of follows the plot line of our film, Rashomon, the closest out of the two. But it is a combination of both, all right? Akira Kurosawa. So we're going to talk a little bit about Kurosawa first. If you don't know the name, he is one of the most influential directors in cinema history. He directed 30 films in a 60-year career. He's what we would call an auteur director. What an auteur director is right here. Filmmaker with a strong and distinct personal vision and control over their work, that they are considered the sole author of the film. So they just kind of take the reins on all of it. They are a collaborator. They work with other people, but it's their vision, exactly what they want in every single frame, in every single sound, in every single color, and every single anything that makes it on the screen. It's their stamp on the film. So it takes a little bit to get to that level of filmmaking, but he is definitely considered an auteur director, and he makes what we would call art films, and this is definitely one of those films. Okay. He was involved with the writing, directing, producing, and editing of all his projects. So, again, he didn't leave too much to other people. He definitely, again, collaborated, but he definitely had a hand in everything that makes it to screen. All right. He often employed an editing technique called the axial cut, which is a type of jump cut, which we'll talk about when we get to editing. And he also utilized the transition called a wipe, which other filmmakers adopt as well. But he was one of the first ones to kind of make it his own and kind of use it. And it took a special process when you're shooting on film. You have to use something called an optical printer, which is like this kind of, you're going to actually overlap two pieces of film to actually do any kind of transitional effects. And he was using that to do this effect. So the axial cut is something he kind of is known for, and the wipe. So we'll talk about both of those. Filmmakers that say they were influenced by Akira Kurosawa's work. Okay, look at the names on this list. You have Steven Spielberg, Scorsese, George Lucas, Francis Ford Coppola, Spike Lee, Tarantino, Ingmar Bergman, Federico Fellini, Bertolucci, Kubrick, Tarkovsky, Herzog. These are titans in motion picture history, and they all say that they were influenced heavily by Akira Kurosawa. So this person's work is very well regarded, and again, you should be thinking about that as you're watching this film. This is considered one of the greatest films of all time. If you look down below here, it says Yojimbo, Fistful of Dollars, which was made by Sergio Leone. It's almost like a ripoff of Yojimbo, and there was actually some legal stuff that went on with that one, and Kurosawa is got a writing credit on Yojimbo. Hidden Fortress is a Kurosawa film that heavily influenced Star Wars, the original, by George Lucas. And if you go read kind of the plot line of Hidden Fortress, you'll find similarities to the Star Wars plot line. Seven Samurai was actually made 2 times over. It was turned into a Western twice. The Magnificent Seven, which was directed in 1960, director's name was Sturgis, and then I believe in 2016 it was remade again. And then the most recent kind of paying homage to Akira Kurosawa is in 2025, Highest to Lowest came out, and that's a film that's made by Spike Lee. Akira Kurosawa made a film that's in the 60s, and it's called High and Low. It's a fantastic film, got a lot of fantastic kind of compositional elements in that movie. And Spike Lee kind of remade it and made it his own. Takes place in New York City, his version of it, Spike Lee's version of it. Okay, we're talking about the narrative here. So in Rashomon, the narrative, it definitely uses a nonlinear type of storytelling, meaning that we are not telling the story from beginning to end, A to B, straight line. They use flashback techniques a couple different times, many different times in this particular film. So the plot of our film is we have 4 people. We have a victim, which is a woman, her husband, the criminal, which is his bandit, and a witness, okay? And they tell 4 versions of the crime, and it's set in 19th century Japan. So basically our storyline is we got these 4 people, and they are telling their version of what happened in a court, okay? Each person recounts their version of events in court, and all their versions are a little bit different. We see their versions played out. So we see them in court kind of telling their story, but then it flashes back to their version of the story. So we actually see the same story being told 4 different ways, which was very revolutionary for 1950, which is one of the reasons why it's so influential. When Kurosawa showed his staff, like the people he works with and his collaborators, the script, everybody was kind of confused, like people didn't get it. And that just goes to show you how kind of revolutionary and new this was when he was making this film or when he set out to make it, because the storytelling is so different and it's nothing that had been done in cinema. This film pioneered a plot device known as the Rashomon effect. So it's actually named after this film, and it's something that we use all the time. So we're going to talk about what the Rashomon effect is. And here we go. What is the Rashomon effect? Significantly different perspectives on and interpretations of the same dramatic event by different eyewitnesses. So that's kind of the dictionary definition of this. And that definition was developed by these 3 kind of film critics who wrote these essays on how to define Rashomon effect, Davies, Anderson, and Walls. You need 3 criteria to meet to be called like a Rashomon effect, okay? So what are the 3 criteria? Number 1, you need different interpretations of an event. So that's criteria number 1. In our story, we're going to have 4 different interpretations of an event. There's got to be no way to verify which one is the truth. Okay, so that's criteria number 2. So all 4 of these people are going to tell their story, but we don't really have a way to kind of differentiate what's the truth and what's not. Okay, and then finally, there has to be some pressure to bring closure or resolution to the event. All right. So in our movie, Rashomon, there's a court trial. Again, this is a period film, so the court trial doesn't resemble anything that you would recognize as a court trial, but you'll know in the movie that they're in court talking to a panel of judges or whatever, right? So those are the 3 criteria that you need, and we all have it in this film. Again, we're going to look at 4 different stories, and they're all going to be very different. All right. These are some of the films that use the Rashomon effect to perfection. Okay. The Usual Suspects. That film is fantastic. If you've never seen it, you should go check it out. And it uses the effect perfectly. And most people are caught off guard by the ending twist. Life of Pi, Gone Girl, Zootopia, Star Wars, Return of the Jedi, Memento, Reservoir Dogs, Vantage Point, The Last Duel. All films that use the Rashomon effect to great success. So those are all, if you want to see, if you like this film and you kind of want to see a modern version of it, you can go check out any of these, and they're going to use it as well.